Welcome back. Today our news is from Leibnitz. So let's take a look at the map, see where we are in the world. And Leibnitz, it says in mid-August there was an attack on Jehovah's Witnesses in Leibnitz. So let's go there. Okay, so here we are on the world. Leibnitz, Austria. That's where we're going for this piece of news. So before we go to the article, I would like to first of all say a thank you to Chainsaw Pete. So thank you, Chainsaw Pete, for your hard work in the community. And now we will get to the article. Now you might remember this event here a few months ago, attack on Jehovah's Witnesses, Leibnitz. It says in mid-August there was an attack on Jehovah's Witnesses in Leibnitz, and explosive devices were mounted on the car, which eventually went off, and the investigators have a suspect. So the terrible incident in August shocked Austria. During a meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses religious community, a pipe bomb went off on a woman's car, 5 minutes reported at the time. A short time later, another explosive device detonated on a man's car while he was driving. Both vehicle owners attended the meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses that Friday evening, August 18th. And the new details are: the investigation began immediately, but the case remained quiet for a long time. Now there are new details. As the Courier reports, the woman's ex-partner, who also had an explosive device exploded in her car, was targeted by investigators. He is said to be a former member of Jehovah's Witness community. According to the information, he wanted to marry the woman, but did not receive approval from the religious community. A search was carried out on his house on Tuesday, November 21st. So this is brand new news, folks. This is what's happening. It's in the works. This is 1 day ago. So now we're going to move on to another article. Okay, so this article is from a different newspaper. It's nice to get a couple of opinions on this because I'm not sure on the papers. So let's see what this one says. Timeline. House search after attack in Leibnitz. After explosive detonates on 2 Jehovah's Witness cars in Leibnitz in August, a suspect's house was searched this week. According to Courier, the man is said to be a former member of Jehovah's Witnesses. The spokesman for the public prosecutor's office confirmed the house search on Tuesday. Batcher did not want to say anything about the fact that the suspect is a former member of Jehovah's Witnesses and ex-partner of the woman whose car was detonated with explosives, as reported. No one was injured in the attacks. During a Jehovah's Witness service in Leibnitz on August 18th, explosive devices were secretly mounted on the underbody of 2 cars. These detonated. No one was injured during the fair. Visitors heard a loud bang. When the owners went to her car, she noticed parts lying around her car. The explosives on the second car detonated as the driver was driving home. And the driver remained uninjured, and more about this is on an August 19th story. And we covered this on another video, and we'll try to put a link at the end. So this is kind of where we're at with this, folks. We're dealing with the situation of a former member, according to this report, a former member. This is his ex-partner. I would assume maybe it's his wife, who is a sister, in good standing, stayed in the congregation. He left. She didn't leave, and who knows? That's my suspicion. Just from, you heard the 2 reports I read. As ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, these things make sense. So why do they make sense? We're going to look in on a lesson. How did Jehovah's Witnesses, for the audience, treat people not of the religion, people that want to leave the religion, people that say, hey, you know what, I'm not for the blood transfusion deal. I don't mind some of your practices. You guys are clean living, good people and everything, but this whole blood doctrine, that doesn't sit right with me. Allowing your children to die if they need a simple medical treatment, like that's not right for me. So you leave the religion, and or you leave that one idea. All you have to do is leave that one idea. Or let's say maybe the other idea is, I don't necessarily agree that the 9 members of the governing body are to be bowed down to. Should we bow down to them? You see, everyone's bowing down to them. I don't agree with that. So I leave the religion. Now I'm no part of it. According to them, I don't like Jehovah, but yet God, if Jehovah's God's name, I love God with my whole heart. I love his son, Christ Jesus, with my whole heart. You see, but according to that religion, the religion I was in, I'm evil. I'm to be avoided. And I'm going to show you how they teach this to young children, and it's inculcated in family studies. You see, when you take a young mind, it's so easy to play with their mind. It's like plasticine. So here we go. I like to show people where I get the stuff from. I just go to jw.org. I put in here video on worldly friends, because they make their search engines for the common JW. Let's say I have kids and I want to train my kids about worldly friends. Let's say I'm doing my family study tonight. Well, here it is. I just plug that in, do a search, and where does that take me to? It takes me to the videos. I want to get a video, so I go to the video library, a video, and they have a whole video library, and I can start with governing body talks, help your Bible students to avoid bad association. I can get that serious. So let's say I was dealing with an elder or someone that had some bad association, and I was another elder, and I had to sit down and counsel him. I might use the governing body one because that's a higher authority close. It helps me straighten this other elder up. He has worldly association. Jeffrey Jackson, another governing body. Here we do the kids' videos, little right here, making friends. So we get into that one. I got into that, making friends, and who should be my friend. So this was a little 2-minute caption. Let's just look at this. It's a 13-minute video. We're going to go all the way to minute marker 11 and watch this video.
You got this, come on. Go, go, go. Yes. Bro, that was good.
So they're teaching the kids through this video how to make friends at school. And it's all about Jehovah. It's all about having Bible studies with Jehovah, this little series. And they have a whole series of videos. But I want to go right over to minute marker 11 here. And they're having their family study. And this is a big deal for Jehovah's Witnesses. They not only go to 2 meetings a week, and the kids have to sit there for 2 hours each meeting. They'll get a spank in some cases if they don't listen. And so then they have to have this family study at night. And then the kids, if we were to watch the whole video, they're inculcated to be trying to plant Bible studies at school. So here's what's going on with worldly association.
So, Sophia, what do you think Jehovah is teaching you about friendship?
That I have to choose my friends carefully.
And how can you know if someone should be your friend?
If they help me be Jehovah's friend. I am not going to join the club.
That's my girl.
We are.
Yeah, so they had a little the little story here. There was a science club, and the science club was going out on a camp out to do science out in a camp out with the science instructor and camp out instructors, Could you imagine that? How fun that would be if you were a young person, and this little girl's good at science, and how much you would learn out there. They made this science trip evil if we're to watch the whole video. I'll put a link to it in the description below. But let's just carry on. Oh.
Are so proud of you, Sophia.
And Jehovah is proud of you too. Now, how about you go finish up your homework? Mom tells me we have a guest coming over.
Okay.
So that's all we're going to play on it. It's really about making Jehovah proud. She's not going to this camp out. She's not going to be with these worldly people. You see, this organization is against higher education. And right from a young child like that, they're now discouraging learning more. Learning more about chemistry, science, and so forth. But it's about... If you're not a Jehovah's Witness, or you're not at least going to study with Jehovah's Witnesses, you're considered bad association, and you're to be shunned. You're not to be, if you were a Jehovah's Witness and you turned, they call that apostate, just because you decided you didn't want to have a blood, you wanted to live. You didn't want to carry that blood transfusion card around and reject blood transfusions. You didn't agree with that. Let's say that was the case. You would be shunned. You would be disassociating yourself from this organization. And the shunning is deep. Now, let's talk about the shunning in this organization just for a second. Now, I've talked about shunning on this show before. I was disfellowshipped, and so I know firsthand how it works. We went over it in the elders book. We talked about on this channel how they train elders to disfellowship and what this is all about. So what it's about is they believe that by shunning a person, you're going to save their life, because the shunning is so cruel that that person's going to want to come back into the organization, get reinstated, and be part of the big happy family. But that doesn't work if you just simply want to keep living. You don't want to carry that blood transfusion card because you know it's not Bible-based. You know that they're reading the scriptures wrong. You know that because you woke up. So what do you do now? Well, you have the choice of speaking out or not carrying that blood card, or this starts getting around. They're going to shun you. It's isolation. And they believe it's going to save your life. So here's what it does. Shunning, psychological effects of long-term solitary confinement, isolation, panic, overwhelming feelings of anxiety, clinical depression, becoming destabilized in their identity, inmates question who they are, deterioration of cognitive skills such as memory or concentration. What does solitary confinement do to the mind? And we talk about it because it's solitary confinement from your family, friends, and everyone you knew. So among many other mental health experts, psychiatrists observed devastating mental health consequences of the practice. Solitary confinement, he found, causes either, number one, exasperation or reoccurrence of pre-existing mental health issues, or number two, the onset of acute mental illness. And what is it like to be in solitary confinement? What is it like to be disfellowshipped? You might ask that. Well, it's just like it says here. Although solitary confinement conditions vary from congregation to congregation among kingdom halls, you notice how I'm changing that from state to state and correctional institutions? Yeah, no, it's just kingdom halls. And systematic policies and conditions include confinement. Confinement, and here in a solitary confinement, it's only 22 to 24 hours. It's forever. There's no time limit. It's forever. Where are the coping mechanisms for solitary confinement? 3 strategies are used to cope with the difficulty of solitary confinement: keeping to a ritualistic routine, a religious lifestyle, and physical exercise. And that's what these channels do. If you're brand new here, they help us as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses to have a community, and gives us some sort of religious community if we want. It gets us out of our minds. Now, is it possible to survive solitary confinement? This guy talks about it here. Is solitary confinement traumatic? Is disfellowshipping traumatic? Is being shunned traumatic? Well, because solitary confinement removes opportunities for social support and likely increases distress, it may put individuals exposed to solitary at a risk for developing PTSD. And that's what happens to a lot of us that leave this organization. So what does long-term isolation do to a person? Well, social isolation's adverse health consequences range from sleeplessness to reduced immune functions. Loneliness is associated with higher anxiety, depression, and suicide. How does it feel to be disfellowshipped? Everyone, well, this is about solitary confinement. They say everyone they interviewed, both prisoners and officers alike, told us that solitary confinement is like being locked away, out of sight, out of mind, and that the consequences on their physical and mental health were significant and often stripped away their humanity. And that's what it does to many that leave this organization. And what are 3 coping techniques? They talk about this: problem-focused coping, emotion-focused coping, and social support, religious coping, and meaning-making. So there's a lot of things that a person has to go through to realize. There's a lot of therapy, in my opinion, that has to go into people leaving these cults, especially if you grew up in the cult and all you knew were all of those Jehovah's Witnesses. You had no worldly outside family or anybody, and it can be dangerous. Can isolation cause insanity? Can being disfellowshipped cause insanity? And these are some of the researches that are going on right now in relation to these car bombings and all these things that are happening right now with Jehovah's Witnesses. It says here, a research team at McGill discovered that after just a few hours, isolation can lead to a distorted perception of time, high levels of anxiety, and even hallucinations. Case studies of prisoners kept in solitary confinement also indicate that a lack of human contact can lead to cognitive breakdown. So that's the end of what we're going to talk about what it's like to be disfellowshipped. It's very similar, what I'm reading, to be in solitary confinement. In fact, worse. Solitary confinement, you can come out and talk with other inmates every 24 hours in most cases. But with Jehovah's Witnesses, you can't. It's forever. It's life. Life in a confined mental situation. And think of coming out of that organization and you were trained that everything around you is wicked. So you're afraid to research. You're afraid to go on the internet. You're afraid to walk into another church. You were taught that all those other churches were demonized all your life. And you're alone unless you get on the internet and find these channels where there's a lot of us that are also in the same boat. So we have grouped up, and you can find us just by plugging XJW into your search engine. Okay, so that's all we have for now on this information on coping with being disfellowshipped. So when we think of all of these things, and we think about these bombings, these shootings, everything that's going on within Jehovah's Witnesses religion right now, what's the answers? Is it going to get better? Is it going to get worse? People are hurting. They're crying out. What's the answers? Well, I think that what's going on in Japan is really one of the biggest answers. And what I like about what Japan has done is they have this group of lawyers, and they put out this phone number or method of inquiry, internet phone number, for all ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Everyone, even Jehovah's Witnesses that are in the cult, want to get out, can't get out because of shunning. So they can discreetly email in, call in, tell their stories. And what's going on in Japan, they've taken that right to the top, the lawyers, to the government, to the prime minister, and the prime minister said he's going to do something about it. just like in Norway. And I think that's what has to happen here in Canada. I think there's lots of people that would like to talk, and we don't know who to talk to. I've reached out to our CMP. I've reached out to the news. No one wants to talk to us, and our stories aren't big enough. So, but I think our stories are important if we look around the world and see what's happening. We're in solitary confinement. Many of us are screaming out. We don't know what to do. And we can't afford therapy because it's very expensive if you want to take therapy and get this looked into. So this is what's happening in the world. I think Japan is doing the right thing. I think if we had a phone number, an email, and we could all come in, and if we knew that was getting addressed, not put off by appeal after appeal after appeal by the many, many Jehovah's Witness lawyers who have no issues lying in court, calling it theocratic war strategy to stretch the truth or twist it a bit, and that's what they do. So it's really hard to get the truth. Well, that's not what they're doing in Japan. They went out, they did, all the second generation told their stories, and it's just starting. This has happened in Australia, it's happening in New Zealand, it's happened in, Norway as a government said they don't meet the shunning practice. We can't allow them to be a charity religion. But now to help the victims, it's important that the victims have a place to call into, tell their stories. And now, my next video will be on how religions now today are being held accountable and how they're paying out. So folks, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. We'll keep you abreast with what's happening in the Jehovah's Witness, ex-Jehovah's Witness community. And until next time, keep living your life with love. Bye for now. Oh, hello. My name is Vern. Join the channel. We cover JW World News, and we give you the rest of the story. Today, we're going to the Watchtower, and we have lives on Tuesday nights and Saturdays, and an excellent community. So join the channel and watch as we crash into the Watchtower. Here it is. I see it coming. Woo! Join us as we report in on the Watchtower.